I think the key is not to overstretch. You need to make sure that you have enough kind of residual backing, because there will always be unforeseen situations.
Especially when expanding.
And sometimes opportunities arise which are too good to be missed, and that requires a level of investment. So it's not over pushing the boundaries to start off with.
Dave Chaggar, Sales Director at Capital Club Dubai. What kind of advice would you give people if they want to connect with billionaires? Actually, they need nothing. What could be the keys?
So I think the key would...
Welcome back, Alphas, to a new inspiring episode of the Alpha Talks podcast. Today in the studio, I do have a very special Alpha for you today. Our Alpha guest today, Dave Chaggar, the Capital Connector. From his role as a sales director at Capital Club Dubai to his unique position as a business matchmaker and a private equity investor, he earned the recognition as the Arabian Business 30 under 40 and continues to be the driving force behind growth and innovation in the Middle East and beyond. Without further ado, let's welcome Dave to the Alpha Talks podcast. Welcome, Dave. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
How are you today?
All is well. All is well. Good. Yeah, a little bit warm outside, but much better in the air conditioning.
Very good to have you today. So, Dave, before we start, I usually have a question that says if the audience, one of them looked at the episode when we launched it and looked at the title, looked at the thumbnail, and found it interesting. So, what can you promise them today that they will gain if they watch the whole episode? Anything out of your head?
Well, hopefully it will be insightful. I think, thank you very much for the kind words.
You deserve it, brother.
Thank you. Hopefully it'll be of some meaning, some benefit to people, whether they're here in Dubai or looking to move to Dubai. I really feel it's the land of opportunity.
Absolutely. We were talking about this before going live. So I think, guys, you will get super inspired. Dave has a lot of experience on his shoulder, and I'm sure he will share the nuggets for you. So Dave, before we start also, can you tell us who's Dave and tell the audience who's Dave in a very nutshell?
Okay, so I'm about 40 years old now, British origin, been in Dubai for nearly 9 years, married with 2 children. And it's been quite an interesting journey up until this point.
100%. It's super interesting and super actually diverse career. It's extremely diverse. So if we're talking about diverse experience in different industries, can you tell us, you have a breadth of experience. How did this breadth of experience has shaped your approach to business and even entrepreneurship in general?
So coming from an entrepreneurial family, it was always something that you always aspired to be like your father, to try and, follow in his footsteps, learn from his path, seek his guidance in many ways. And from a very young age, we saw my father always working late, building the business from scratch. So that in itself was, great as an inspiration to try and mimic what he does. And then when you get older, once you've been through schooling and education, to try and take it to the next level.
What was the business?
So manufacturing, automotive sector.
Very diversified.
Yeah, so all rubber and plastic components.
Yeah.
And the main clients were General Motors, Nissan, Toyota, Honda. And it started from very, very humble beginnings.
Blue chip. Are you involved in it these days or not?
No. So the family business is still operational. Thankfully, I'm out of it.
Yeah, we will talk about this.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about the Arabian Business 30 under 40. At a young age, you have achieved this. What do you think that the qualities that you have and strategies that you believe that it contributed to this achievement?
So I think it was very humbling to be acknowledged by them and to be part of the list, to be among such names as Alicia Mupin and then Adil Sajan, very good friends. It was really like an acknowledgement of all the effort and hard work. I think in the UAE especially, they really appreciate those who give back to the economy, to support other businesses. And it was a privilege to be part of that list. And I think a lot of that came down to Capital Club itself being an incredible platform, and then how it's really evolved over the last 2.5 years.
Really impressive. But if you tell me what are the personal qualities that you really think it contributed to this achievement?
So I think some of it comes down to trying to be humble, to listen to people, to understand what are their pain points. Because anybody who says they've not been through a challenge in life is not being 100% honest. You know, I think challenges are what shape your vision and your approach moving forward.
True.
So there's nothing wrong in actually acknowledging I've been through this hardship, but it's learning from them, adapting, and then moving forward.
I love that. Let's go back a little bit to private equity and VCs. You have an experience in this as well.
Yes.
Can you tell the audience what kind of trends happening these days? And I think you're aware of all these trends because I believe, and everybody believes, that you do these kind of investments that's emerging in these days, and especially in our region right now.
So I think a lot of the private investors, institutional investors, they are to a large degree becoming more industry agnostic. They're open to any form of opportunity, provided it kind of ticks their requirements, whether it be the ticket size or the regions or the main focus or what's the exit strategy. But definitely I've seen a little bit more of a slant towards the tech sector.
Tech.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, when you're talking about multiples, that's where everybody feels that there's
especially
a higher
with AI
multiple.
these days, actually AI is a big contributor to this.
Exactly. And I think the key is narrowing down to good deal flow. You know, at the end of the day, when you're potentially opening it up to private investors, to good friends, to family, then it's got to be something you believe in. You need to believe in the founders. You need to ideally see a track record.
True.
And I think this is the key for all private
The
investors.
founding team, absolutely, you're correct.
Exactly. It's having all those right ingredients where you think that it's got a strong likelihood of reaching a good exit.
Absolutely. You know, I want to touch a topic which is actually important for me as well, and I believe a lot of people watching us is, I would say, family. And if I say, like, you worked in your family business for a quite long time, I would say, and how did you navigate the conflicts and differences in opinions with family members?
I think if you've been through family struggles in terms of a business environment, you develop thick skin.
True.
It makes you that much more resilient to handle matters in the open world. Because again, in a family business, it's not purely just about commercials. So for argument's sake, with my father, we had many challenging occasions. Because again, you have different opinions. And at the end of the day, one has more autonomy than the other.
True.
So,
especially from the culture that we come from, to be honest.
Exactly. I mean, being of Indian culture, Punjabi culture, again, you need to be respectful.
A father figure is a father figure. True.
Exactly. So it's maintaining that balance. So it kind of prepares you to approach things in a way so that I know what I want to achieve, and navigating to make sure you get the right objective.
True.
Which means sometimes you need to bite your tongue a little bit.
We're being politically correct now, okay?
Yeah. So I think once you've been through all of those things, if you manage to deviate family issues to eventually reach a positive outcome, then in the normal business environment, you're that much better equipped.
Absolutely, 100%. You know, we have lovely examples in our region with family business that they divided the companies among them. You understand? Like, you deal with this company, you deal with this company, not overlapping, because we all pass through this. It's very hard to manage it. Let's put it in another format from a family perspective. Being an entrepreneur, being a career-oriented person, especially, let's say, in Dubai, let's say we're up 24/7 for work. How do you manage work-life balance? And I do understand you value family a lot.
I think to a large degree, you've got to have a certain kind of cutoff point. Again, it can be a little bit of a gray line at times, but generally having an understanding that, okay, I will be working from this time to this time. If you're likely to extend, try and prepare your family as best as possible. But again, it's important to have that balance. If you just focus only on the work side, then family will struggle as a result. And especially when you have young children, mine are 10 and 12 right now. So they're very impressionable. And thankfully, my wife, she really puts in a lot of effort. But it's important to have that bonding time with them.
Absolutely. Do you do it every day, the bonding time?
As best as possible, yeah. Normally, I try to leave by about 6. At least then I've got a couple of hours before they sleep, because again, they have very early starts at the moment. So
7 something today. We're taking him from the family time. Thank you, Dave, for being here, actually. Let's talk about business expansion. When we talked, I understood that you did a lot of business expansion across borders in different countries. And every entrepreneur, his dream or her dream is to expand cross borders. And this is not an easy thing. Can you tell them what kind of challenges they could face and what kind of advice for people who are looking to expand cross-border?
So each country is different. They have their own dynamics. So I remember moving to Australia. I was newly married at that point. And we basically secured the first contracts with GM Holden at that point, invested a significant amount of money in terms of setting up the infrastructure. Entering the market and gaining more leverage took understanding how the local people think. And it was a challenge for sure. But it's the way I approached it is by giving no option to my customers. So in a diplomatic way, eventually we made a lot of traction and it was a very interesting journey. However, when I consider Tanzania, for argument's sake, it's a very different kind of way of thinking. And again, it's all about reaching your final objective. So there's always a way, but you need to approach each way according to the different types of people.
For people looking for expansion, usually we tell them that better have the proper foundation where you are starting, I would say, and then expand. What kind of advice would you give people, like to focus on expanding their operation internally and then national level and then expand afterwards, or to simultaneously expand to other countries?
I think the key is not to overstretch. You need to make sure that you have enough kind of residual backing because there will always be unforeseen situations.
Especially when expanding.
And sometimes opportunities arise which are too good to be missed, and that requires a level of investment. So it's not over pushing the boundaries to start off with. Then slowly, as you get traction, then it's easy to leverage up.
True. And you have a correct base.
Exactly. But it's all about building that revenue, building the traction, building the track record. And then things kind of go one step at a time. I mean, when you're in your home country, you have all of those credentials. But when you're entering a new market, it's starting from scratch, effectively.
You don't have the network, you don't have the connections, you don't. The
Exactly.
culture is different. True.
And similar there are so many people moving to Dubai right now.
Yeah.
And I think the key is getting those right foundations, being amongst the right types of people, and then, slowly assessing where you feel the right opportunities are.
100% totally agree. Let's go to the land of opportunities, Dubai.
Yeah.
Dubai was, I would say, a transitional point for you and a nice decision you made through a trip, but was not meant for Dubai. What did you see in Dubai at that time that inspired you? No, I'll stay here.
So
at that time.
So Dubai has always been a trading hub. So the moment I started traveling, because there were no direct flights to Tanzania from the UK, so I had to commute through Dubai. Every time I was spending 2-3 days either side. And the more I realized by just exploring the local market, all the right connections in terms of suppliers were based here. From a cost reduction exercise, it made logical sense. So the more I was dealing with local UAE-based companies, and that then gave the traction for me to realize, okay, this is the place to be based. There's no point living in the UK, commuting all the time. Better we're based in Dubai, and then that gives a lot more freedom.
Move around.
And then in terms of quality of life as well.
Of course.
It gives you that balance, which I don't think any other city really can compare.
Okay. Our audience is from across the world. So what can you tell about Dubai for entrepreneurs or people who want to run their business from Dubai, the benefits of Dubai to them as an entrepreneur, let's say?
I think it's so much more of an open market. We have so many different nationalities, people from different backgrounds. I find that across Europe, the US, it's very difficult to reach the person you want to reach. There are several layers normally, whereas in the UAE, it's quite different.
In this room we're sitting in, that's what I was telling my team before, that in this room, I won't find this kind of mix if I'm sitting in Turkey or if I'm sitting in Russia or that only happens in Dubai. Different nationalities, different countries, different experience. And that's thanks actually to Dubai.
100%. I think, generally speaking, the vast majority, we're expats here. So you already know from the offset, you need to make that effort. You need to be out and about. You need to meet people.
True.
So it changes your mindset completely.
100%. So that's why you say it's the land of opportunities.
Interestingly, whenever I travel to the UK, for argument's sake, it's been a long time now, but people immediately tell he's not based in the UK.
Done.
Because again, you're used to being that much more friendly and approachable, making effort with people.
True.
Because everybody tends to do that as a given here.
100%.
So it changes your mindset. And even now when I look at my children, they speak so many languages. They
that's true.
They have a diverse network of friends. And this is the beauty of Dubai.
You don't miss living in UK
Not at all.
at all.
Not at
Yeah.
all, no.
I heard it from a lot of people. Let's go a little bit to Capital Club, and I want to give the audience an understanding first. What is Capital Club? So can you tell us what is Capital Club? It's been over 15 years.
So Capital Club is the only private business members club in Dubai. As you said, operational for over 15 years. It's really a unique mix of entrepreneurs, C-suite executives, a lot of the ministers, ambassadors, consul generals, and then some of the owners of major conglomerates as well. We're blessed that we have all these different people from different backgrounds who come to the club, and they have a lot of their high-level meetings and discussions, and they talk about business. So it's really a unique environment.
I love it. I've visited a couple of times, and it's really impressive. Like a couple of questions, and then you will tell the people how, if they want to join Capital Club, what they will do. But Capital Club has a mix of, you said like all the mixes. So, but I'm sure there are a few billionaires in it, billionaires and millionaires. And what is the red line between them? What's the difference between millionaires and billionaires for people to understand?
I think,
From your perspective.
yeah, there's a few different aspects to it. So one, I think, generally speaking, billionaires are a lot more low-key. You do have the odd anomaly, especially in Dubai. But generally speaking, they're very self-confident. You know, they don't feel like they need to prove anything to anybody. They're very much self-fulfilled. So the mindset is completely different. A lot of people who are in the millionaire bracket, they're still very much aspirational, how they're going to grow their net worth, how they're going to grow their business. So a lot more focused on being on the wheel, so to speak. Whereas billionaires, whilst they still may be ambitious, they're probably a little bit more relaxed given the fact they've achieved probably the vast majority of their goals.
True. Networking is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. And one of the things that it is really good for our audience to know, as you said, billionaires, they don't need anything. From a networking perspective, and you are the capital connector, what kind of advice would you give people if they want to connect with billionaires? Actually, they need nothing. What could be the keys?
So I think the key with billionaires is trust. You know, at the end of the day, if you're always reaching out with, oh, I have this opportunity, I have that opportunity,
They don't need it.
it doesn't really reflect well. I think generally speaking, when a billionaire has a specific requirement, they will come to you. They will approach you directly. They know exactly what they're looking for, and it's whether you can actually meet their objectives.
So particularly when you're entering a conversation with them, it's just like building a relationship with nothing.
Relationship is key. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, they're at a position where, again, everything automatically normally comes to them. So for them to actually transact has to be based on trust.
And trust is built over time. So like when we talk about networking, guys, it's something that you do over time. It's not like you do it one time and you forget about it. So you need to build trust over time with these people.
And once you've got that credibility that say they've opened you up to one aspect of their business, you have to deliver. If you don't deliver, then that's it.
Done. True.
So you have one window.
True. I totally believe that one of the strong keys that people should develop these days is a personal brand. Do you think that personal brand is a way of gaining trust with high net worth people?
I think there's two aspects to it. So on one side, it's very important in today's age because at the end of the day, there are only a handful of billionaires compared to millionaires. So it's important to appeal, generally speaking, to be known for what you do, what are your achievements, etc. Generally speaking, for billionaires, it's more by referral.
Correct.
Through a friend or through part of their existing network that they understand, okay, this can add value to my life, to my business. However, if you have that presence, then that's something that they can always research, look into prior to actually meeting you.
100%. What are the tips that you could give the guys or our audience on building networks, on building relationships? You are a master of that. So what kind of 3 tips you would give the people who are really working to do network? Because I believe 90% of people doing networking in a wrong way.
100%. I think time is finite. We have a limited number of hours in the day. So it's really critical to actually actively focus on the people where you feel that there is opportunity. A lot of people tend to do it in an ad hoc way without any clear vision or foresight. But again, it's much better to be focused and targeted, and then you'll find a lot better in terms of rewards, finding mutual benefit. So it's really a case of time management, and then also in terms of profiling that they are the right caliber of people, decision makers within that industry, where it'll actually move forward.
I love that. Being a sales director in Capital Club, of course, that's a leadership role. And you faced a lot of leadership challenges. What kind of leadership style do you follow?
So thankfully, we have a great gentleman who we all are thankful that he's been supporting the club, our chairman, Hussein Sultan Al Junaidi. So he's a very different type of gentleman, very, very humble. So he actually founded Enoch. And he gives everybody a free hand to operate as best as they see fit. So I feel having that level of freedom elevates everybody. So as long as we're all aligned with the same vision that we want to make Capital Club cemented as the elite private business members club, then everything else falls into place.
True. I love when we had a chat before the podcast, you were telling me that you're having 10 meetings at the same time. Your hands, like we have a saying that we love to get our hands dirty, get into the things. So I believe that your leadership style is like leading by examples, because at the end of the day, you drive a high performance team. And I believe that you embody this to lead by example. You're doing everything on your own. I was watching a podcast for you. And this is extremely important for people who are thinking about entrepreneurship, because these days entrepreneurship is more of a lifestyle. It's more of a trend.
Yes.
People think that entrepreneurship is something easy that you can jump in and then have the Lambos, the Patek Philippe, and all these at a glance. You said that before you jump into entrepreneurship, you need to have a cushion, a financial cushion. Can you elaborate on this for people? Because sometimes people say like, I will jump the boat and like,
I think if you're in a normal 9-to-5 type of role, you have that comfort zone. And it's something where you really need to have that drive. Above and beyond, I've got an idea. It's got to be something that you feel monetarily will give you, your family, a better quality of life. And that's not an easy road. It's not for everybody. So you have to be prepared that life is not easy. There's always competition. So how do you stand out?
True.
And at the end of the day, that also requires sacrifice in some cases. So having that buffer allows for you to not sacrifice to the same degree as you may have to. So that's why the key is not to over leverage, to understand and to plan correctly.
Planning is everything, true.
Yeah.
You had a challenge that you didn't have an experience in, which is, I believe, is running the power plant in Tanzania, right?
Yes.
How did you jump into this challenge? That's entrepreneurship to the bone. Having a challenge, taking the risk, getting it, doing it in an absolutely different country.
So it was interesting. I still remember the phone call from my father-in-law. I've acquired the power plant. And again, it kind of came from top down because he was being entrepreneurial by entering the industry, entering the field. So for me, it was a challenge for sure, because I had no prior experience in terms of the power and energy sector. And I thought, okay, how do I go about this? So it was really a case of trying to learn everything from the ground up, which means being on the site, being on the ground, understanding what each team member is involved in. So there was a team of about 120 staff there. Who are the key decision makers? How can we focus on cost efficiency? So it became step-by-step learning. And I remember when we were looking at various plans of expansion, it was a case of challenging people who were 20 years my senior when it comes to costings. And, you've just got to bite the bullet and push beyond the boundaries, and you only gain respect and credibility by taking those risks. Yeah.
Do you think that anyone can be an entrepreneur, or everyone should be an entrepreneur?
I don't think everybody's built for it.
Yeah.
I think most people have the skill set, but they really need to unlock it. So, a lot of people prefer the comfort of being in a normal everyday type of role or managerial position. But again, it takes a different type of person, I feel, to take that entrepreneurial risk. Because again, your business could be booming for decades and decades.
True.
And then overnight, a circumstance changes and then you have to build from scratch.
True.
So like we have some mutual friends in common. They've been through some hardship. and they're not shy of the fact.
True.
But that's what makes them who they are. That's what makes them more resilient and more capable of succeeding in the future as well.
And tell me, will you revert back to being an entrepreneur or not? Or do you miss being an entrepreneur?
Who knows? I mean, I'm at the age of 40 now.
Still young.
But what I feel, which is of value every day when I go to sleep, is the fact that I feel like I'm making a contribution to so many people's businesses, and at the same time, I'm learning so many different sectors, so many different aspects, which is beautiful to be part of that experience as well.
So,
but now, Capital Club is the priority for sure.
Absolutely. A lot of people will ask me now, okay, how can I join Capital Club Dubai? So how can people join Capital Club?
So we have quite a unique member base. And I think the key for Capital Club is to maintain the caliber of those who are within the membership. It's a very different approach in terms of the club. Everybody is very welcoming. It's very much kind of a fluid environment. Everybody's looking to connect and meet other people. So the key is being of the right kind of background and where we feel is the right fit for the club. So generally speaking, anyone who's looking to join, they need to go through the board of directors in terms of approval process. But we have a lot of corporates, a lot of people who join on an individual basis.
It's very important. I totally believe as well to maintain the caliber, as you said, at a particular level.
Because that's what the ethos of the club is all about.
True.
Is being the elite networking environment. So everybody needs to be aligned in terms of their thinking process, how they operate, understanding the rules of how the club operate. And then beyond that is for everybody to do business and also to enjoy.
Is there any age restriction?
So we even have members under the age of 30. So we have a separate category for young executives as well as for individuals and corporates as well. So we have different categories, and also our members, so they have unlimited access to Capital Club Dubai, but also whilst they're traveling, whether it be London, Paris, Singapore, Hong Kong, they can utilize the reciprocal clubs up to 12 times each club a year. So it means for international businessmen.
It's very nice. Yeah. True. Very. Okay. How can they apply actually? On the website, because I'll leave it in the description. How can they apply?
Yeah, either through the website is normally the best way. It's always best to be referred by a member. So the again, if you know somebody who's a member, then that also holds some weight. So
perfect.
Yeah.
I'll be leaving the website of Capital Club in the description if anybody is interested to apply. But again, it's based on a very tough criteria. Thank you, Dave, for this info, because I believe a lot of people will keep asking how to join, because, you know, these days, when you say a club, a networking club with business people, everybody's interested to join. So we'll be leaving the link and you guys look it through. Another question to smooth a little bit the things. I like to smile. So, of course, you made a very, I would say, strong business mistake in your life. Everybody did a couple. Tell us one and tell us what did you learn from it?
Which one to choose? That's always the challenge. So there was one move that I made that I think was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of cost. It was regarding a specific transaction where, again, I didn't do my due diligence as well as I should do. Let's put it this way. I never repeated the same mistake again.
So preparation, due diligence is 100%.
You know, at the end of the day, you can't overlook any detail.
True.
It's to make sure everything is matching what you say is going to be delivered. And, you know, it's always making sure that you've done due diligence to the maximum.
I always tell my team is the devil and the magic is in the details.
Yeah.
Don't take things very from high level.
And, you know, the beauty of that situation is, so the way it was dealt with as a family was, okay, we made a mistake as a family. But again, it's just about moving forward and learning from that.
True.
So again, it won't be repeated.
I'm sure about that. Yeah. Okay. I want you to share with us and the audience a hidden talent or a skill that you have that nobody knows.
Okay, I think probably my wife would not agree with me, but I'd say it's listening.
Listening.
Yeah. Because
And
the key is listening.
Exactly. That's a very good thing, because being a connector, a person who really enjoys networking with people,
Yeah.
the key is listening.
100%. And I think it's really something that the more you actually observe, you have to observe people's characteristics, you have to understand their body language, but to listen, that then opens up many different frontiers in terms of different angles of conversation that are very valuable.
Listening. Okay. Being successful is always depending on, I believe, a guy who was corporate, then being an entrepreneur, and I believe it's built on a set of habits that you have and routines that you follow consistently. What are your habits and routines that contributed to the success?
So I think, the key is discipline. So I love to start the day by about 6:30 in the morning. And it always starts with dropping the children into school. And that's that quality time that makes everything meaningful. What's the purpose behind what you're doing? It's not necessarily just about money. It's about the purpose behind that. It's about seeing your children grow up, trying to be the best role model you can. And then from there, it's a case of starting the day, planning for the rest of the day. What are the different meetings? Being pre-prepared.
We apologize for the family. We're taking Dave from the family time.
No problem.
What are your goals and aspirations, professionally and personally?
So I think in the very near future, Capital Club will reach its maximum, in which case a waiting list will probably then be introduced. So that's very, very important. That's the prime focus in terms of Capital Club at the moment. And then keep on focusing on being the attraction point. We have so many high net worths moving to Dubai right now. Keep on being that inviting place where they feel comfortable, they can do business. That's priority in terms of the business side. In terms of personal side, I think the key is, so my children are now 10 and 12. I already have a limited time before they move and fly the nest. So it's really a case of devoting that time one-on-one, above and beyond the business side, to be accessible to them.
I respect that. I respect that very much. Before I go to the last part of the episode, I want to ask you a question, because it really opened my eyes when we were sitting and talking before the show. You said one of the things that we learned in Dubai is to spot the bullshitters. And it's really kept running in my head all this time. Yes, sometimes you deal with a lot of people that they show something that is actually not real. Can you give us tips how to spot the BS?
I think
being involved in this type of
I'm going to hide my watch for a second. But no, I think sometimes you need to look at the warning signs. Wearing a fancy watch does not necessarily mean it's a prerequisite for success.
True.
In many ways, I think the way people dress, the way they appear, is almost as a cover-up to try and make sure that everything is fluid in terms of the business environment. So I think the key is not to necessarily rush into any opportunity or investment or business aspect. The key is take your time, do your due diligence, assess the 360, because it's important to understand what you're getting yourself into.
100%.
And it's very difficult to reverse those moves once you make them.
True. I love that, because I personally faced this when I moved to Dubai, and we had a chat before the podcast, and it's actually very valuable to really do your due diligence and actually don't take what you see as real.
I mean, there are a lot of capable people. There are a lot of people who can really assist in terms of moving business opportunities forward. But again, it's, you can't necessarily go in each and every direction. So
before we end, what kind of message do you want to leave the audience with from Dave?
I think we're all blessed to be in an environment like the UAE. It's not like anywhere else in the world. It's such a fertile environment when it comes to business and in terms of building good relationships. I think the key is to make your time valuable, both in terms of business and also personally as well.
To enjoy.
I think if you have the personal side correct, then that allows for you to flourish on the business side, and vice versa. So it's just about making your time valuable. At the end of the day, never do anything 50%.
True.
You're going to be in that meeting for 1 hour. Make it the best you possibly can.
There is a quote that I love. It says, like, how you do anything is how you do everything. And actually, I believe in this so much. Even if I'm doing something at home it has to be 100% because if I do it not in the right way, means in my business I do things not in the right way.
100%.
100%. We have a tradition in the podcast here that we do the following, which says this is called the Alpha Talks Memoir. Okay, the Alpha Talks Memoir is kind of, I would say, a memoir that you will write here. What was your experience in the Alpha Talks podcast? That's the first thing. The second thing is you will write a question to the next Alpha guest. Any type of question, it comes to your head. The next guest won't know who wrote it, but it's a way of connecting the Alpha guests together.
Okay.
And the third thing is, who do you think could be the next Alpha guest that you recommend that will add value to the Alpha Talks audience? These are the three things. So before going out, there's a question for you.
Okay.
I hope it's nice. Let's see. Ooh. Okay, what is the most fundamental decision a person needs to make in order to succeed in life?
What's the most important decision
a person needs to make in order to succeed in life?
I think the key is to always give out positive energy.
Mm-hmm, true.
If you push out positivity, you'll automatically receive positivity back.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like we said earlier, it's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to be smooth. But at the end of the day, if you go with a position of negativity, then again, people feel your energy.
True.
So as long as you go with that mindset that, okay, I'm going to give everything my all, do my best possible, then I think the right things will automatically come 100%. And then success will automatically follow.
You know, I look also at myself. I hate to be around negative people.
Yeah.
I hate to be around complainers. So it's 100% going around with positive energy.
Exactly. Because if you go with positive mentality, the only person you have to blame is yourself.
100%. Dave, it was an amazing episode. I believe that a lot of people watching us will be inspired. I loved your diverse career. And of course, people will be super interested to join the Capital Club. So we'll leave all the details in the description. And I thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That wraps another inspiring episode of today's show. I hope that this episode has ignited your inner alpha and left you feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to conquer any challenge that comes your way. Remember, alphas aren't born, they're made. It isn't about dominating others. It's about embracing your authenticity, leading with integrity, and making a positive impact on the world. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the Alpha Talks on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us a review and share the podcast with your fellow alphas. Also connect with us on social media at SEIF Al-Hakim. Share your thoughts, insight, and stories of personal and business growth with us. Let's create a movement of alphas supporting one another. The world needs more alphas like you exactly. Until next time, stay bold, stay driven, and stay alpha.